Most men's style guys, they completely ignore how face shape affects business casual, especially for black men, where your facial structure meets your professional image. What's crazy is the right collar, height, beard shape, and glasses frame can completely transform how seriously you're taken, not just socially, in corporate boardrooms, in hiring interviews, in leadership circles. Yet most business casual advice acts like one size fits all. It doesn't. Different facial structures require different strategies, not just in grooming, but in the visual language we wear every single day. And if you're a black man, business casual isn't just professional life. It's a high stakes balancing act, a tightrope walk between expressing who you are and meeting expectations in a potentially biased space. Western grooming standards weren't made with us in mind. And even in 2025, your hairstyle and beard could quietly impact career opportunities. That's real. And at 35 plus, we don't have time to grow into presence. We have to design it. A 2021 study in evolutionary psychology found that perceived confidence, grooming, and social presence were more attractive long-term than a guy with natural good looks. It's not about being born with it. It's about building it. That's what I did. No model face, no superhero jawline. But I built a presence that gets attention in every room, on every call, and with every client that I deal with. And here's the shift. Black men are rewriting the playbook. From style influencers to entrepreneurs, we're showing how to maintain a cultural identity while commanding respect. You don't need to transform to be taken seriously. You just need a strategy. One that connects the shape of your face to the shape of your presence. So how do you build that presence if you weren't born with it? Well, let's start at the top. Try this on and see how it fits you. Your collar is the unsung hero of business casual. It's not just there to hold a tie. It frames your jawline, directs the eye to your face, and it either sharpens or softens the impression that you give. Let's be honest. Most men don't wear ties anymore unless it's to a wedding. But that doesn't mean that your collar is off duty. It still sets the tone. Open or closed, your collar shapes your professional energy. But before we start talking about collars, I know I'm not wearing one, which begs the question, how do you wear a crew or a V-neck? Here's a quick tip. If you have a longer neck, wear a crew. If you have a rounder or shorter neck, wear a V. It's really that simple. Back to the collars. So lower collars relax the look, but they often are too small or too stingy, and they tend to fall back into jackets. High collars create authority, especially under layers like overshirts or blazers, but you want to make sure that it's not too high and overwhelms your neck. But what about the spread? If you need to elongate your face, a point collar, which has a narrow spread, is best. The most balanced and versatile collar spread is the semi-spread, which is why it's typically the most popular. And if you need to add width and volume to your look, then the colorway collar is best. Now, bear in mind that the width of a narrow or a widespread collar could differ depending on the make or if you're having it custom made. And the roll of the collar could add softness or structure depending on how you're putting it on. So once you have the collar height and the collar spread on point, then you want to think about how that combines with your shoulder line. If you have broader shoulders and a slim neck, use the spread collar to create symmetry. If your shoulders tend to slope or your neck is thicker, find the balance with the width and the height of your facial shape so that you don't compress your overall presence. Remember, even if your collar is open, it might hold a tie at some point. So choose your collar accordingly because your collar will equal your credibility. Now that we've created your frame, let's move up the collar to what is actually framing your face. Your haircut and beard need to be aligned with your bone structure because your silhouette speaks before your smile does. Let's look at all 5 shapes, the oval, square, round, diamond, and heart to see which one best works for you. Now the oval face is probably the most versatile. It allows for a lot of different hairstyles, so you really have to consider the type of workspace and the professionalism that you need to provide. If it's the latter, then consider waves, low tapers, or short cuts. And with your beard, it's usually better to be clean and tight instead of having a overly robust facial shape. But if you want to have a little bit of facial hair, Think about some stubble or a very clean boxed look that will add more dimension to your face. If you have a square face, then you're going to have a strong jawline. And you want to balance this with your hairstyle to add some volume. Consider dreads or a sponge curl hairstyle to do that. And create softened angles with a fuller beard. Because the goal here is to avoid making your face look like a literal box. Now you can do this with a higher fade, it may make a comeback, or with more angular hairstyle. So even if you're doing a brush curl fade, make sure that's a little higher and adds a little bit more of an angle to your face. For your beard, a goatee or beards that fade into a point will build angles to your overall facial structure. If you have a diamond face, then that means that your face is widest at its cheekbones. So you want to add volume in your hairstyle, and you can do that with a fro, a soft box cut, or dreads or curls. Anything that will round the top of your head. Build the chin with a goatee that will give your face more angular dimension. Now, if you have a wide forehead and a narrow chin, then you want to balance downward. So keep your hairstyles tight, tapered with some low waves or with a low Caesar type of fade. And for your beard, you want to create a fuller chin. So a full beard or a goatee will add some visual weight to your jaw. You want to avoid any hairstyles that are going to puff out at the crown. Instead, focus on narrowing the top and grounding the jawline. So try this on. Take a black and white photo of your face and then blur it. If you can't see a clean contrast between hair, jaw, and beard, you've got a shape problem, not necessarily a style. But what if you're bald or you have a baby face? I know the pain. You just need something that will draw attention to your face. Let's talk about glasses. Glasses aren't just an accessory. They're a focus tool. According to Applied Psychology Journal, men with intentional structured glasses were seen as 30% more intelligent and competent even before they spoke. If you have a round face, rectangular angular lenses will create dimension and balance. If you have a square face, round, rimless, or brow line styles soften your facial shape, drawing attention to your eyes. If you have an oval face, most frames work for you. You just have to make sure they aren't too big or too bold for your face. If you have a diamond face, oval, rimless, soft curved styles will smooth out your angular lines. And if you have a hard face, a bottom heavy or wider frame will balance out your facial structure. Now, for all of you content creators, remember that on camera, glasses actually reinforce eye contact. They draw the viewer's attention to your expressions. They add polish, maturity, and even a creative edge, depending on the frame. So if you're sporting a neutral outfit, you can use a bold frame to add a pop of interest. If your ensemble is meant to make a statement, then keep your frames minimal, and that way your eyewear is the period at the end of your visual sentence. I know you're thinking, that's great for the visually impaired, but I got 20/20 vision. What can I wear? A hat. Hats have long been cultural for us. In the modern business world, they are your signature move, especially when done with finesse. A 2023 behavioral study showed that hats increase visual recall by 35% in a business casual mixed environment. And I know that some fellas are worried about ladies in social settings saying that they're hat fishing them. But if you've used all of the other strategies, she's sure to have her eyes on you for the right reason. So let's make sure that your facial shape and hat combinations create the best recollection. If you have a round face, a structured cap or fedora is going to add dimension to your overall look. While nearly everything works for an oval face, I know you're starting to see that that's a recurring theme. It's important to pay attention to your personality. So you're not in anything that's too bold or too boring when you don't want it to be. If you have a square face, curving the brims on your cap or on your fedora or putting on a beanie will ease the hardness of your facial shape. If you have a diamond face, a 5-panel hat or a flat cap will add ease and flair to your face. And if you have a heart-shaped face, a stingy brim or a low-profile cap will round out the angles and make your face even more dynamic. Now, try this on. You're stepping out for a night of networking, and you're in a chore jacket, a button-down shirt, trousers, and desert boots. Now, you already know what your scale, silhouette, and shape are saying about you. And if you don't, check out a recent video I did so you can make yourself aware. What glasses or hat are you sporting to move from relaxed to commanding attention when you step out? Leave me some comments down below. So let's review. Your collar, height, and spread are going to create your visual presence. Your grooming, hair, and beard choices are going to guide your perspective. Your glasses are going to enhance focus, and your hats give you the opportunity to create a memorable signature. Maybe that's why I wear so many. Remember, this is not about dressing up. It's about showing up with presence, power, and it all starts above the collar. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to shape what people see. You've got the strategy. Now here's the twist. What if business casual was never really made for you in the first place? Because half of the time it means too little and the other half too much. In the next video, I'm going to be exposing why business casual is a lie. And I'll show you how to actually dress with confidence, whether you're heading to the office, flying across the country, or just showing up in your day-to-day life. If you're tired of trying to decode an outdated dress code, then it's time to rewrite it. You'll never look at business casual the same.